So here we go, boys. The Mitsubishi F2 received a major buff today that will increase the performance of this thing to probably become the best F-16 in the game. And why is that? Well, because it basically got the same treatment on its engine as the Block 50 F-16C of the American Tech 3, which means an increased overall thrust on the engine. So let's take a look on exactly what that changes to the aircraft and see if we will be actually the best F-16 in the game. So the first thing is this graphic provided by Zabi. So we have here the old and the new systems, the older power and the newer power. So the blue one is the older one, and the orange kind of gold one is the new thrust. So you can see that depending on the speed of the vehicle or depending on where it is on altitude and whatnot, it will basically produce different things. So for example, here we have at 0 meters an increase of thrust of around 5 kilonewtons more or less, right? This is in kilogram force, but I like to say in kilonewtons because it's easier for my brain to say it. But in a general sense, you have kind of a 5% increase, 4 or 5% increase over here in thrust. So not a lot, but you have more thrust. You can even see that the older one produces a little bit more thrust above around 1000, but it's not by much, and then it just goes together. At 3000 meters, you can see that they are pretty much the same, but producing a little bit more thrust. So you can see that it produces, I don't know, like a very, very tiny amount, like 2 kilonewtons more or something like that. Not a lot, but still it is producing more. At 6000 meters, you can see a more preeminent kind of increase over here. So this is around 3 to 4 kilonewtons in these spaces. This one, it's like up to like 6 or 7, something like that. So, or even more a little bit. So yeah, very, very heavy increase in the higher speeds at 6000. And then you have the biggest increase of them all, which is at 9000 meters above 1000 kilometers per hour. It starts, of course, this increase. It remains similar-ish to the other ones, but it's bigger already. So it's around 9 maybe kilonewtons of thrust more. And even when you are in the higher speeds over here, close to 2000 kilometers per hour, you can have an increase of 12, 13 kilonewtons, which is an insane amount of power more than 10%. So yeah, and at 12,000 meters, very high altitude, it becomes kind of the same as well. But in a general perspective, you can see that you have a 3 to 10%, depending on altitude and speed, thrust increase for the Mitsubishi F2. Also with the F-16C, right? Both of them are receiving these. So yeah, very, very good change. And here we have some of the other things, right? So for example, here we are in the in stat chart over here, and you're gonna see the thrust of the F-16C, which is this one, becoming very similar or the same exactly as the Mitsubishi F2, right? Which is even better than the SUFA, right? So in the higher speeds especially, right? This is much, much better thing. And if you actually go to times to speed, or for example here, you will see that the Mitsubishi F2 is indeed a lot worse than the other ones, that it is because of the increase of drag that the aircraft has. So it will take a little bit more time to accelerate, and you can see that the maximum speed that the aircraft can do is a lot lower than the other ones, right? So that doesn't change much, but the aircraft itself will still be worse than the other ones in a general perspective because of the extra drag. But at least now it will be on par with the F-16C, right? Where he actually wins by a lot because of the extra wing that he has. He's on the turning performance. So although the SUFA can even beat the Block 50 F-16C, the F2 just much, much better. I mean, it can produce, I mean, look at this, almost 10 at the same speed degrees per second of a turn, right? It's 1/4, it's like 20% or something more of turn in the same speed, right? Of course, in the higher speeds over here, the SUFA, it becomes a little bit better in the same speed, but overall the maximum is still better, about 3 degrees per second on the F2, right? So remember, this is an aircraft that has a lot more drag, that it has a lot less speed normally than the other F-16s, but it does have a lot more turn. And together with that, this increase will help this vehicle to become a lot more armored against this type of thing, okay? Against not having as much power as the other ones. So yeah, guys, at the end of the day, it will be a severe increase in power. It's not like game changing, but it will feel like the Mitsubishi F2 became a lot better than what it was before, right? Especially getting to speed and retaining energy in a turn. So the aircraft itself is a pretty interesting, right? Will it be the best F-16, like I was saying before? I don't know, man. You tell me. Like, it depends on what you like to see. I mean, depending on person, depending on the flight style or anything with that, some people will say yes, some people will say no, right? I normally like to have the ability of just having a little bit more speed, right? So this thing actually has a pretty significant lower max speed than the other F-16s, right? So it becomes kind of a problem. But at the same time, in a dogfight with the correct piloting, you can even beat an F-16A. So yeah, I think it's close to be one of the best. I still believe the Sufa and the F-16C Block 50 will be for more like the average player. But if you know what you're doing, the F2 can become the best. I think the major problem with it is still the BVR missile, which is just the AM4 is just not the same, right, as the AM120. So yeah, it's close, but it's not quite there, right? But basically, this is it. The F2 is here. Update it and improve it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and I see you guys on the next one. So make sure to subscribe, and bye. See ya.